We open today's proceedings with a powerful and timely conversation titled Strengthening India's Growth Through Collective Action. As India advances towards its vision of becoming a self-reliant and globally competitive economic powerhouse, one truth stands out. Sustained national progress demands a shared purpose, a vision that rises above political boundaries. So this special session brings together members of Parliament from across political parties to reflect on the role of Parliament in shaping enabling policies for industry, for innovation and investment, and how consensus-driven policy-making can ensure sustained inclusive development. So this is a session that truly underscores the spirit of collective leadership and its power to shape India's next decade of opportunity. We have up on stage Shri Rajiv Pratap Rudy, Member of Parliament, Lok Sabha, Shri Lavu Shri Krishna Devaralayu, Member of Parliament, Lok Sabha, Mr. Akshay Yadav, Member of Parliament, Lok Sabha, Dr. Vikram Jeet Singh Sahni, Member of Parliament, Rajya Sabha, Shri Chandan Chauhan, Member of Parliament, Lok Sabha. And to moderate, we have Dr. Jyotsna Suri, past President FICCI and Chairperson and Managing Director, the Lalit Suri Hospitality Group, and Mr. Harshvardhan Neotia, past President FICCI and Chairman Ambuja Neotia Group. I'd like to now request the President of FICCI, Mr. Harshvardhan Agarwal, to please welcome our guests on the panel. Our honorable guests will be welcomed with a special green certificate and a memento. To each of our special guests up on stage, a warm welcome with a green certificate and a memento. The green certificate is in keeping with FICCI's tradition of pledging the planting of a grove of trees in your names at Ram Bhumi in Ayodhya. Just a small token of gratitude for your presence and a step towards a greener and more responsible future. So before we hand over to our two moderators, may I invite the President of FICCI to please make the opening remarks.
A very good morning and a warm welcome to all of you on the second day of the FICCI's 90th Annual General Meeting and Annual Convention. It is my privilege today to welcome our distinguished members of Parliament to this special session. We are honored to have with us Sri Rajiv Pratap Rudy, Sri Lavu Shri Krishna Devarayalu, Sri Akshay Yadav, Sri Vikramjit Singh Sahni, and Sri Chandan Chauhan. I also extend a warm welcome to Dr. Josna Suriji and Harshvardhan Neotia, past presidents of FICCI, and also to all the members of Presidium and the dignitaries present today. Friends, the theme of this year's AGM, India's self-reliant economic powerhouse, reflects the shared national aspiration to position India amongst the world's leading high-growth, competitive, and resilient economies. Today's platform reminds us that bipartisan collaboration can be a powerful catalyst for national prosperity. Policies debated and shaped in Parliament define the course of our industry, innovation, infrastructure, and jobs. Sustained growth demands constructive cooperation across parties, especially on reforms in manufacturing, agriculture, technology, taxation, trade, ensuring that development's benefits are shared by all. We are privileged to have with us today a panel of dynamic and forward-looking members of Parliament. Their collective experience and diverse perspective represent the strength of India's democracy, where ideas may differ, but the commitment to nation building remains common. We look forward to a candid and solution-oriented discussion on how Parliament, policymakers, and industry can work together to strengthen India's growth through collective action. Thank you so much.
Can you hear me? Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, President, for setting the tone. And we're going to dive straight in to the panel. And my first question, of course, but before I say that, on myself, on my behalf also, I would like to welcome all of you and, of course, the members of Parliament who have taken their time out to join us this morning. My first question is to Sri Raji Pratap Rudy ji, who's the Member of Parliament, Lok Sabha, and the chair of the FICCI Forum of Parliamentarians. First of all, thank you so much, sir, for coming in. India is on course to become a self-reliant economic powerhouse. As the member of the party, which is driving the growth from the center, what are the priorities that will lead to achieving this objective? Yeah.
Am I audible? Jyotsna ji, so I was expected to put a keynote on this so that there is a background to it so that other colleagues have. So I'll do it from there if it is okay with you for 5 minutes and then we'll be know. Hi everybody, namaskar. 98th Annual General Meeting. And possibly this is the first of its kind that we are having a session with members of Parliament. Thanks to the team FICCI and of course Harshi and Josna ji who have been, इन लोगों ने काफ़ी मेहनत करके इस टीम को साथ रखा. पार्लियामेंटेरियंस और ख़ास करके नेताओं की टीम को साथ रखना बड़ा कठिन है और सभी पार्टियों का और भी कठिन है. वर्षों से मैं इनको देख रहा हूँ और उससे भी बड़ा कठिन काम इन्होंने मुझे दे दिया है कि मुझे उसका अध्यक्ष बना दिया है. So I have my distinguished colleagues, Chandan is there, Lavu is there, Akshay is there, Vikramjit Singh is there. एक मेरे पास छोटा सा नोट भेजा गया था, इसमें कहा गया था कि इस पर आपको पृष्ठभूमि देनी है. I have to put a background on this so it becomes convenient for everyone. And it was, India is on the course to become a self-reliant economic powerhouse. तो ये बड़ा मुझे, because I'm not an economist, and तो मुझे लगा कि इसमें संदर्भ कैसे लेके आना है. How do we explain to the world, especially to people, this August gathering, कि जो बातें हम कहते हैं सेल्फ रिलायंस को, इसको कैसे परिभाषित करेंगे? हाउ कैन वी टेक इट फर्दर? अब अगर एक तो हम अपनी सरकार की बताएंगे और विपक्ष के भी कुछ लोग हैं यहाँ, लेकिन वो मोटे तौर से सहमत भी होंगे, और जो हमारी प्रगति हुई है पिछले कुछ फिगर्स ऐसे हैं जो शायद प्रमाणित करेगा कि सचमुच 10 वर्ष में हम लोगों ने बहुत कुछ अचीव किया. वी हैव एक्चुअली अचीव्ड. And few figures, and then I'll come to the self-reliant point. Coming back to the issues which possibly will make you feel that we have actually achieved it, is not a document which I am producing here, it is in the public domain. And if we basically try to compare it from 2014 to 2025. The nominal GDP in 2014 was around $2 trillion. We have come to around $4 trillion. Global ranking, we were 10th largest economy, now we are the 4th largest economy. और ये हम लोग रोज बोलते हैं, कुछ नई बात नहीं है. Budget in 2014, where we are roughly about 17 lakhs crore, we have gone to about 50 lakh crores now. Revenue receipts have gone up from 11 lakh crores to about 31 lakh crores and so forth. Infrastructure investment, which was 2 lakh crores, has gone up to 11 lakh crores. Now, how does all this make a difference? You build up revenue, take revenue, and build it up. Now, if you look at the infrastructure, which has affected everyone, and basically everyone in this country has been affected and has felt the change which has occurred. In road transport and highways, allocation in 14 was 27,000 crores. We have got to 3 lakh crores. Railways, 65,000, 2.5 lakh. Defense, 2.29. We have got 3 times to 6 lakh crores. And go on, and we'll see that there has been a substantive rise in the allocation for budget in overall development. Now, how this has happened? You don't spend money. If you spend more money, you create more deficit, you get more inflationary impact. So you have to raise revenue. Of course, the august audience sitting here must have contributed extensively to it to see that we get more money, especially with the coming of the GST. अब जिस सवाल पर हम लोग आ रहे हैं, वो सवाल एक ऐसा सवाल है जो बिल्कुल बहुत बड़ा एनोमली है, सेल्फ रिलायंट. तो शायद सरकार ने भी देखा होगा, उन्होंने कहा कि 2025 तक हम यहाँ पहुँचे हैं और माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कहा 2047. लेकिन अगर इसमें कुछ तथ्यों को अगर आप देखेंगे तो सेल्फ रिलायंट बनने का क्या परिभाषा हो सकता है और हम लोग क्यों अपने आप को कहते हैं. मैं अभी मार्क में एक छोटा सा, नाउ देयर वाज अ रिपोर्ट कि इंडियन इकोनॉमी दिस क्वार्टर हैज ग्रोन बाय 8%. Even a state like Bihar shows it has come back from A place to now 6th place in the country with Tamil Nadu. और कल शाम को मैं जब आप लोगों के बीच में था, I was discussing कि तमिलनाडु, no one discusses Tamil Nadu. And we talk about Maharashtra and Gujarat mostly when we are discussing. And I don't know how many people have an exposure in Tamil Nadu. Or I do not know how much FICCI has its presence in Tamil Nadu. Or how much Tamil people have an influence on FICCI. But they are the most progressive. And these are records because, and they have politicians like us only. They don't have different kind of politicians. But they are the most progressive. This needs to be searched. Why? They are the most progressive today, and we don't talk about Tamil Nadu. They are in southeastern part of the country. They're doing extremely well. We only talk about Maharashtra and Gujarat, and when we have to talk about bad things, we talk about Bihar and UP. So this is the general temperament but things have reversed now in these two states which we are talking. अब मैं जिस विषय पर आपको आना चाहता हूँ, हाउ डू यू से वी हैव बिकम सेल्फ रिलायंट. विमान की बात, आज कोई सोलर एनर्जी पर कुछ विमानों के बारे में, देयर इज अ रिपोर्ट दैट सोलर रेडिएशन इज अफेक्टिंग aircrafts in the world, and magnetism and radiation flares which come out will affect the aircrafts. I do not know, I have not read about it. But if you look at the growing market of aircrafts or the economy of aircrafts in this country or connectivity, अब सवाल ये उठता है कि आप जहाज निर्माण करके सेल्फ रिलायंट होंगे या पैसेंजर्स जो भारत में है उसको खुद यात्रा करा. यू कैन नॉट मैन्युफैक्चर प्लेन्स. एक साधारण सा अभी वो यूरोप में प्रॉब्लम हुआ और 100 जहाजें आपकी बैठ गई बिकॉज दैट प्लेटिनियम एंड टाइटेनियम व्हाट इज यूज्ड इन द इंजिन्स वर नॉट देयर. एंड this rare earth which we are talking is used in whether in solar panels or it is used in aircrafts or in semiconductors or across the world. We have it, but we have not explored, even touched it for last 100 years. And those who are manufacturing and use it have been using it for 100 years. आप कहिएगा इसमें हम सेल्फ रिलायंट हो जाएंगे? जहाजें आप बना लेंगे? नहीं बना सकते हैं. जहाज बनाने के लिए अगर आज से रिसर्च शुरू करें, और you have to be dependent on those people who have manufactured planes. Maximum what you can do is HAL is manufacturing the windows and the doors for A320s, which is being manufactured across the world. This is your limitation of self-reliance. Now, what you have, oil seeds production. Yes, we need to get more oil seeds production here because we are importing 50% of the oil seeds today. That is self-reliance. You have to define what is self-reliance when you talk about competing with the world. China produces 1,000 million tons of steel. What is your production? Roughly about 140 or about 200 million tons. Where are you? And China is not only manufacturing for self-reliance for next 50 years, they are manufacturing it for the world. And with the Jindals, the Tatas, the government and the SAIL, you are manufacturing roughly about 200 million tons of steel. Cement is the same situation. The question arises, we have to define self-reliance. Now, which are the fields where you can exceed? It's a world economy. US economy is about $30 billion US dollars. China is 22. We are $4 trillion dollars. We are just 4. Now look at this figure, and nothing is self-reliant today. It's a global economy now. You say someone can do something better, others can do something much better. So it is not when we talk about self-reliant, yes, you are struggling to match. Now we don't manufacture the components of telephones, mobile phones, but we are claiming to be the second largest manufacturer of mobile phones. But the semiconductors, the SIM cards and all those things are not available. तो हम सब लोगों को पहले सेल्फ रिलायंस डिफाइन करना होगा, और सेल्फ रिलायंस डिफाइन करने में अपने आप को छोटा नहीं महसूस करना होगा. We have to look into niche areas which actually is going to give us a world advantage. For example, in the startups, if you look at the startups, we just had 350 startups in this country. Today we have more than 1 lakh startups. That's the brain which we have. And possibly this product which comes out of each startup may possibly get you the world's wealth today. And if we talk about Swiggy, Ola, Flipkart, and so forth and so on, we have done something which is exceptionally beautiful. And that is where we have to create a sense of self-reliance. We can create a sense of self-reliance in roads, infrastructures. Ship manufacturing, when we look into, 55% of the ship manufacturing of the world is with China. We are hardly 1%. Now you're talking about 1,500 million people, the world trade with India, and looking at Africa. Now Africa, if you put together all the nations together, it's hardly about $3 trillion economy if you put all the African states today. So my point is, we have to further define and look into what is the actual definition of self-reliance. Self-reliance is nothing which is done individually. No, nothing is individual. Everything which we have in this auditorium, I think 80% of the things is what we have imported. Maybe the chairs, but this microphone, the chips inside, everything is done internationally. How do we position ourselves to become self-reliant? Like, आज अगर हम लोग food productivity की बात करते हैं, we are absolutely self-reliant. No one is dying of hunger. Everyone is getting fed. अब वो दूसरा सवाल है कि आप कहेंगे कि 80 करोड़ लोगों को मुफ्त अनाज दे रहे हैं. That's a different purpose altogether. Now I come back to the state of Bihar. Why I say what matters for a nation or a state is the perception. You may have a perception of the central government. We always talk about it. Akshay will have a certain perception about the state government of Uttar Pradesh. He has a right to talk about it. But Bihar, if you see the election, which is very relevant today, and I come from that state, and this is my 40th year in politics, 7th term in parliament, 1 term as an MLA. Not many people know that. I don't know how many people know about my background, because I get discredited in politics because I can speak English. हाँ, क्योंकि कल भी मुझे आपके ही ऑडियंस में कोई व्यक्ति मिले तो मुझसे पूछ रहे हैं कि आप बिहार कब गए थे. तो हमने कहा कि मैं 4-5 साल पर एक बार जाता हूँ. I told him I go 5-10 years, 5 साल में एक बार जाता हूँ. So he's so unaware about me in your audience that I have been a 7th term. It doesn't happen that I flip a coin and that become a member of parliament. So he asked me that question. I said 4-5 साल के बाद जाता हूँ. And he believed it actually. So this is the situation of real India. Now Bihar is a perception. आप लोगों को लगा होगा, कोई लोगों ने कहा कि ये 10,000 रुपया दे दिए. नहीं साहब. This is not 10,000 rupees. This is a trust which is there in the government of the day. And the government believes that, the people believe that there is a government I stay in a village. When I tell that my house in my village is much beautiful than what the house in Luton's Delhi where I stay. And what is required in a village? What you look for, self-reliance. And I have the best definition of self-reliance. The best definition of self-reliance is not a polluted Delhi. And you cannot handle this. फतेहपुर सिकरी से हम लोग यहाँ चले आए, पानी का अभाव था, अब पॉल्यूशन के कारण हम लोग दिल्ली का कैपिटल भी लेके चले जाएंगे, अगर आप लोग नहीं मानिएगा तो। और साहब मेरे गाड़ी जो है, मेरे पास ही गाड़ी है जिसमें वो 20,000 फाइन लग गया मुझे। अब एयरपोर्ट से लाने जाना था, वो उसने आजकल वो बहुत कानून निकला हुआ है साहब, उससे क्या पोल्यूशन रुकने वाला है? पटना में अभी हमने देखा कि सरकारी निर्णय है, 1,000 करोड़ का ईटीपी प्लांट लगा है और गंगा को साफ करने का, और ईटी प्लांट का जो लोकेशन है वो गंगा के बेड के भीतर है। तो ये अगर होता रहे और पॉलिटिकल इंटरफेरेंस और एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव इंटरफेरेंस नहीं हो, तो सेल्फ रिलायंस का सबसे बड़ा नमूना अगर आपको पूछना है और समझना है तो मेरे गांव चलिए। मैं बिहार में रहता हूं, गांव में रहता हूं, पटना से शैलेश यहाँ बैठे हुए मेरे स्कूल के हैं, 100 किलोमीटर दूर रहता हूं। एक गांव में सेल्फ रिलायंस के लिए क्या ज़रूरत है? गांव तक पहुंचने के लिए एक अच्छी सड़क हो। पहले मेरी माँ पटना से निकलती थी, एक बस का नाम था जो सुबह 5 बजे हार्डिंग पार्क, पता नहीं कोई नहीं जानते, वो बस स्टैंड हुआ करता था पटना शहर के बीच में। उस बस पर बैठती थी और गांव पहुंचती थी, 7 घंटे लगते थे। उस बस का ही नाम था 1 डे सर्विस। एंड टू नो द ओनर ऑफ दैट 1 डे सर्विस, आज 15 साल पुरानी बात है, वॉज अ बिग थिंग कि भाई पहला सीट दे दे कंफर्टेबल और कंडक्टर रास्ते पर ध्यान रखे, वॉज द इकोनॉमी ऑफ दैट प्लेस। आज वहां पहुंचने में मुझे 45 मिनट लगते हैं। 24 घंटा बिजली है। अगर आपको किसी जगह डिफाइन करना हो हाउ इज इलेक्ट्रिसिटी गुड, फाइंड आउट इफ देयर इज एनी स्टेबलाइजर इन दिस होम। In Bihar, you do not have a single stabilizer for any equipment being used in Bihar. Can you believe it? आप किसी गांव के देहात में, the quality of power which has been given, मेरे जिला में 45 सब स्टेशन है, पावर सब स्टेशन, the largest in the state of Bihar. I don't have power fluctuation. I may have power cut when there is a maintenance, but I will not have a power failure. And third, I have a complete internet. My daughters who live in Delhi, they are modern girls of Delhi. They don't have a problem in staying there for doing the elections because they feel happy. They have internet, they have everything, they have electricity round the clock. All the rooms have air conditioning. They feel happy. And the fourth, which you may not have heard, and just last question and conclude, what is self-reliance? How many of you live in urban areas? Almost. How many of you have a gas pipeline connection in your home? 50%. Can you believe 100 kilometers away in a village? In my home, I have an IOCL gas pipeline connection and my food is cooked in an IOCL pipe. This is self-reliance, and if we can achieve that, we'll rule the world. Thank you. The floor is for everyone.
Thank you very much, Rudy ji, for those wonderful insights. Thank you very much. I'm going to jump to Shri Chandan Chauhan ji, who's a member of Parliament, Lok Sabha from RLD. Chandan ji, you have a special interest in social development, especially in areas related to water conservation and community welfare. Water management is central to the growth of the economy. How does your party look at solving this issue, and what are your views on this?
Thank you, Jyotsna ma'am. Honorable Rajiv Pratap Rudy sir, Honorable Lavu Krishan ji, Honorable Akshay Yadav ji, Vikramjit ji, Harshvardhan ji, and all distinguished guests. Thank you, FICCI, to invite on this 98th annual general meeting. जो मेरे लिए जो सवाल रखा गया है, क्योंकि being a young member of parliament, I come from that area जो हमारे यहाँ कहा जाता है कि दोआब का क्षेत्र, गंगा यमुना का सबसे फर्टाइल और सबसे अच्छा पानी जहाँ वर्ल्ड के अंदर मिलता हो, तो उस क्षेत्र से मैं आता हूँ। ये मुजफ्फरनगर, बिजनौर और मेरठ का इलाका हमारा है, जहाँ वाटर कंजर्वेशन को लेके लगातार सरकारें काम कर रही हैं। हर घर जल योजना हो, तमाम जितने भी हमारे सरकार, प्रदेश सरकार या सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के पार्ट पे एफर्ट्स किए जा सकते हैं, या विश्व की परिस्थितियों को देखते हुए किए जा सकते हैं, हमें देखने को मिलते हैं। और जो आज मेन सरकार का उद्देश्य है और जो होना भी चाहिए, जिसे मैं मानता हूं, जब तक 80% भारत को आप इसमें नहीं जोड़ेंगे, जो कि हमारा रूरल इंडिया है, जहां हम हर घर जल तो योजना कर ही रहे हैं, वहीं हर खेत तक जल पहुंचे और सही मात्रा में पहुंचे। और जब तक मैं, क्योंकि हम चौधरी चरण सिंह जी की पार्टी से आते हैं, हमारे नेता आदरणीय जयंत चौधरी जी, राष्ट्रीय लोकदल हमारी पार्टी, और किसानों की बातें, उनकी उनकी ज़रूरतों पे लगातार काम करते आए हैं। जहां जब तक किसान को भारत के, ऐसा मेरा मानना है, क्योंकि एक्सपर्ट्स की राय अलग हो सकती है, जब तक हम अपने किसान को, क्योंकि दिल्ली में आके हमें भी ये समस्या, उस पानी की कीमत का पता चला, हवा और पानी की, जो हम छोड़ के आए हैं। जिस चीज़ को हमने कोई महत्व नहीं दिया है, उसकी ज़रूरत क्या है, वो यहाँ रह रहे लोगों को एक एक बूंद की आवश्यकता का पता है। मेरा इतना सबमिशन है इसमें कि जब तक एज ए कम्युनिटी हम ड्राइव चलाएं और 80% ऑफ इंडिया को उसमें साथ जोड़ें, जब तक ये वाटर कंजर्वेशन पे जो हमारा सपना है, जिसको ज़रूरत है, उसे हम हासिल नहीं कर सकते। वहीं बड़ी जिम्मेदारी दो दूसरा कंजम्पशन है, इंडस्ट्रीज कंजम्पशन। उस पे यहाँ बड़े बड़े इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट भी बैठे हैं, बहुत से लोग, आप लोग भी टच में हैं, उनकी भी एक बड़ी जिम्मेदारी बनती है। वो अपने वेस्ट को और रिसाइकल वाटर को जब तक करके चलें, और एक कम्युनिटी के रूप में वो शिक्षित कर सकें, और फिक्की भी कर सकता है और करता आया है। मैं जहाँ तक समझता हूँ कि विश्व की परिस्थितियों को देखते हुए और तमाम नई टेक्नोलॉजी का सहारा लेते हुए, हम अपने सिविलियंस को, अपने लोगों को एजुकेट करना पड़ेगा, और जब ही एक कम्युनिटी के रूप में हम इसे हासिल कर पाएंगे। थैंक यू सो मच।
थैंक यू वेरी मच चंदन जी, आपने बिल्कुल सही कहा। थैंक यू। आपने बिल्कुल सही कहा कि हम सब की जिम्मेदारी है इसमें, एंड वी एट फिकी in any case are committed. Thank you very much for your insight.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Before I ask my next question to Krishna Lavu, I want to add my own warm welcome to Rudy Saab for being our chair and for keeping us all on our toes, and of course to all the other parliamentarians who are here today. Uh, One of the wonderful things about this forum of parliamentarians is our desire to be a very bipartisan forum. And you can see with the composition of the parliamentarians who are represented here, there are 5 different political formations that they represent. So it's truly one of those areas where, in spite of our country being told to be a noisy democracy, and perhaps sometimes when we read newspapers, we feel a little concerned as to what's really happening. But underneath that, there are two facts. One is that there is a cooperation, there is a certain level of cooperation. And the second is that our growth itself speaks about some things that are working right for our country. So, this being the kind of underlying truth of our noise, I'd like to refer my first question to Lavuji. Your state, Andhra Pradesh, has been making a lot of news lately with a hyperactive chief minister doing number of important projects and announcements and seminars and conferences and so many things. I'd like you to please respond as to how do you see the major challenge of addressing unemployment in our country, and what is your party's view on it, and particularly the disruption that is likely to be caused in employment by the advent of artificial intelligence.
Thank you. Thank you to FICCI And I have to really appreciate on Saturday morning, bringing 5 MPs to Delhi is some achievement. And thanks for having us on your 90th general meeting and convention. And as Harshbhai has just mentioned, Andhra Pradesh has been, I don't have to advertise too much about Andhra Pradesh because for the last couple of months, Andhra Pradesh has been making a lot of noise and right kind of noise. As we mentioned in the question about the unemployment and underemployment, I think this is noise is to answer that question because how much ever you talk about underemployment or unemployment and everything, how much ever you talk about skilling and all those things, unless there is industry that is there, unless we bring the business there, nothing makes sense. Coming from Andhra Pradesh, erstwhile Andhra Pradesh, you must have seen the way that IT sector has grown in Andhra from 2002, uh, even now we're the second largest. When the whole thing started, everyone said, where are the engineers? How this sector is going to flourish? There's so many questions that that have been asked at the time. But when the industry came, the people started skilling themselves and made themselves employable. It's never the other way around. Yeah, how much ever you do the skilling and everything, there is no jobs available. It doesn't make any sense. That's the reason why all this noise has been made, and the investment, the Google that have come, and ArcelorMittal. All of you from business, you must understand. You must have gone through the details. The amount of work we have done to make sure that ArcelorMittal can come to Andhra Pradesh at the speed which we have done. That is what everyone should understand. And these are the things because we understand unless the industry come there, people are not going to. But at the same time, we are not sitting back and keeping quiet. We when the whole the lot of states are asking about caste census and all those things, we from Andhra Pradesh are talking about skill census. No one is talking about skill census, which we are doing it. We are planning to do skill census in every house. Whoever is at the age of employability, we are making sure what skills he has. Based on that, we are setting up skill hubs, skill centers, so that that can be enhanced. And then we want to link with all the investments that are coming in, whichever industry that is coming in. So this is working from both sides. We can't say we are going to just kill them and wait for them industries to come. Both has to work hand in hand. Unless we do that, it's not going to happen. So that's the first thing. Second thing is the problem that I face coming from a constituency like Narsropet, which is very rural, is that the employment at the rural setting, the village setting, the village economy, not only in my constituency, even if you ask my colleagues also, the rural economy is not actually as growing as fast as the urban economy. The people that study well in my constituency, they're finding jobs and everything. But my concern and my work is to make sure these rural economies also thrive. So that is my focus area right now. So I hope with the new government that is at place in Andhra Pradesh, and the focus that we are giving it for the agriculture sector and food processing sector and MSME sector, we will be able to actually make this rural economy thrive in the years to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Krishnaji. That's fantastic. I think we are very encouraged by what's going on in your state, and let's hope that could be a great way of looking at investment and development in our country. Um,
Uh, I'm now going to move to Shri Akshay Yadav ji, who's a member of Parliament, Lok Sabha SP. Akshay ji, you are the 7th member of the family of political stalwart, Shri Mulayam Singh Yadav ji, to join politics. Agriculture is a key sector, and its growth is necessary for the movement towards self-reliant economic powerhouse. as an agriculturist by profession, I don't know how many of you know that, but he's an agriculturist by profession. What do you suggest that we need to do to make our farmers economically stronger? Akshay ji.
सबसे पहले मैं फिक्की को धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगा कि आपने हम लोग को एक ऐसा प्लेटफॉर्म मुहैया कराया जहाँ हम लोग को सीखने को भी मिलता है। और विशेष रूप से मैं रूडी सर को भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद दूंगा जो उन्होंने मुझे फिक्की से जोड़ने का काम करा है। अभी मैम ने जो सवाल पूछा, हम लोग एक किसान परिवार से आते हैं, अब पॉलिटिकल हो गए। नेताजी श्री मुलायम सिंह यादव जी, उन्होंने किसानों को समझा, उनके फादर भी किसान थे, शुरुआत में वो भी उन्होंने भी किसान के रूप में काम करा। तो हम लोग अगर पावर हाउस एक बनाना चाहते हैं और किसानों को जोड़ना चाहते हैं तो सबसे पहले हमें किसानों की समस्याओं को समझना पड़ेगा। आज की तारीख में जो वेदर का चेंज है वो किसानों को बहुत इम्पैक्ट करता है। जो वेदर शिफ्ट है और जो बारिश जिस तरीके की हो रही है, किसानों का नुकसान उसमें बहुत हो रहा है। किसानों की एक बहुत बड़ी मांग चली आ रही है एमएसपी की। तो एमएसपी की मांग क्यों कर रहे हैं हमें उसको भी समझना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि जो सीड की कॉस्ट है, हमें अच्छा बीज चाहिए है तभी फसल अच्छी हो सकती है, उसके लिए रुपया भी ज़्यादा खर्च करना पड़ता है। तो जो कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन है वो हमारी बढ़ती चली जा रही। और मैं दूध के सेक्टर से भी जुड़ा हुआ हूँ, और अगर हमें पावर हाउस बनाना है तो महिलाओं का भी इन्वॉल्वमेंट, जो हम लोग महिला सशक्तिकरण की बात करते हैं, तो रूरल क्षेत्र में महिलाओं का भी इन्वॉल्वमेंट होना चाहिए। उसके लिए कई बैंकों से भी हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं कि किसी भी तरीके से, क्योंकि जो महिला है, जब गांव की महिला काम करती है, उसका जो सबसे बड़ा बिजनेस है वो है जानवर को पालना, जैसे दूध हुआ, दूध को बेचना, और वो महिला उस दूध को बेचकर अपने बच्चे की फीस निकाल लेती है। घर में जो कपड़े वगैरह आते हैं और जो बचत होते हैं महिला उससे कर लेती है। तो महिलाओं को हम लोग कैसे और सशक्तिकरण बना सकते हैं, क्योंकि महिलाएं गांव की निकल के नौकरी नहीं कर पाती हैं, अभी पढ़ाई का भी बहुत अभाव है। तो महिलाओं को हम लोग कैसे सपोर्ट कर सकें, किसानों को की समस्याओं को समझ सकें, तो इससे एक अच्छा वातावरण भी पैदा होगा। और अगर किसान मजबूत हो जाएगा तो देश की इकोनॉमी भी अच्छी चलेगी। अगर हम लोगों को ध्यान हो, जब 90s में डिप्रेशन आया इकोनॉमिकली, तो इंडिया 60% एग्रीकल्चर क्षेत्र में उस समय काम कर रहा था। तो अमेरिका में जॉब्स गई, हर जगह गई, लेकिन इंडिया उस डिप्रेशन को सरवाइव कर गया था। अब उल्टा है, जॉब्स ज़्यादा हैं, क्षेत्र कम हो रहा है, किसान कम हो रहे हैं। तो हम लोगों को किसानों के लिए भी कुछ नई योजनाएं लेकर आनी चाहिए, ऐसा मेरा मानना है। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। थैंक यू।
धन्यवाद अक्षय जी, आपने बिल्कुल सही कहा। जब आपने महिलाओं को साथ में जोड़ने के लिए सुझाव दिए हैं, और किस तरह से महिला अ, कुछ छोटे काम करके, जैसे कि दूध बेच के अपने बच्चों की स्कूल की फीस निकाल लेती हैं। आई थिंक दैट्स अ वेरी वेरी इम्पोर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट। और आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद कि आपने हमें ये सब बताया। थैंक यू अक्षय जी।
Vikramjit bhai, uh, Vikramjit bhai, I am really privileged to be on your WhatsApp group, so I see your hyperactivity. I think you are one of those parliamentarians who not only represent important issues of Punjab, but has been a voice of reason on many matters. So I would like you to share with us, how do you look at bipartisan cooperation as an important aspect of development of our country, as well as some other issues that are dear to you, and how do you want to respond to that?
Thank you, Harsh ji, Jyotsna ji, and the chair of the Parliamentary Forum, my elder brother Rudy ji. I think first of all, it's a homecoming to FICCI, having been a national executive member for 20 years and have chaired SARC CCI in FICCI and BRICS
Business Council, and so many things. Now, coming to the bipartisan, I think Rudy ji will agree with us that it is just not desirable, but it is very, very essential for having sustaining. If we have to really become a 5 trillion economy, have to address the issue of farmers, which Akshay ji has just pointed out, industry, innovation, investment, employment generation. So to address that, in the parliament, as you all are aware, we have indeed parliamentary consultative committees and standing committees, which operate in a very cohesive manner in a non-political sort of environment. But you must have seen that there has been a lot of, usually there is a ruckus on some issue. And as a apolitical person, I sometimes get very disturbed and we raise our voice because we should know that the cost of running a parliament for 1 minute is about 2.5 lakh rupees as per the documents. You can see if a day is lost or week is lost, how many crores of taxpayers' money is going waste. And dialogue is the only way. Conflict must be resolved, it must be translated to the consensus. But I've tried to study where the problem arises. Like 2 years back, we try every session on the eve of first session. I host a dinner for all the MPs from Punjab, for example. And since Rudy ji happens to be the half Punjabi, as people don't know him Bihari, people don't know that he studied at Punjab University. And I told Punjab University last week, when this conflict was there, I said, okay, whatever, but there's no restriction. Bihari is the president of the Punjab University alumni. I invoked his name. So, I call all of them, and at my invitation, all the MPs from different parties come. And then we have Preeti Bhoj and good thought, food for thought. And then we say, okay, Punjab is facing these 1, 2, 3, 4 agrarian issue, drug issue, employment issue, blah, 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 drone issue. तो इसको हम जो है अगले 2-4 दिन में HM से मिलते हैं. डेट बहुत है पंजाब में. हाँ जी बिल्कुल. चलो अब अगले दिन साहब फोन वोन करो लोगों को तो थोड़ा कोल्ड फीट है. वो कहते नहीं यार मैं तो चाहता हूँ विक्रम जी, बट क्या करें यार, पार्टी वार्टी, तो वो दे डोंट वांट टू बी सीन टुगेदर. तो ये बहुत बड़ा मसला है. लेकिन हमने इसमें ये भी देखा है कि जैसे जीएसटी काउंसिल, कोऑपरेटिव फेडरलिज्म, अब जीएसटी काउंसिल इज अ ग्रेट सक्सेस क्योंकि उसमें सेंटर स्टेट अभी भी जीएसटी के रेट्स कम हो गए. वो एक मैं समझता हूँ मॉडल है. वुमेन रिजर्वेशन बिल, तो कटिंग अक्रॉस पार्टी लाइन. अब 2 बिल अभी बुलेटिन में आ रहे हैं. उसमें एक जीएसटी का ये जो अमेंडमेंट हुआ बिल है अभी, और एक ये कॉरपोरेट लॉ में अमेंडमेंट्स हैं, और बड़ी क्रूशल जो कमेटी की रिपोर्ट आई है ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस, वो आ रहे हैं. लेकिन अब मुझे भय है, हम लोग वहाँ एंटी रूम में बात कर रहे थे, हर्ष जी और ज्योत्सना जी समझ रही थी कि ये SIR क्या है, तो अक्षय जी समझा रहे थे. अब हमें डर है, आई होप दिस इज अ इल फाउंडेड एंड दिस डजंट कम ट्रू. लेकिन अगर मंडे से अब वहाँ वो सर का ही शोर पड़ेगा तो ये 2 बिल भी धुल जाएंगे. लेकिन जब भी शोर पड़ता है हम चेयरमैन के पास जाते हैं, ट्रेजरी बेंचेस पे जाते हैं. पहले पीयूष जी थे, अब नड्डा साहब हैं. तो हमारे जैसे लोग जो बहुत मंझे हुए पॉलिटिशियन नहीं हैं, हम उनको कहते हैं कि साहब टीवी पे तो आप बोलते ही हैं शाम को रोज सर पे, टीवी पे डिबेट होता है, यहाँ भी 2-3 घंटे बोल लीजिए. आपका अपना व्यू है, ऑपोजिशन का अपना व्यू है, तो डिस्कस चर्चा करने में हर्ज ही क्या है. लेकिन अब ट्रेजरी बेंचेस, गवर्नमेंट का अपना व्यू है, वो चर्चा क्यों नहीं कराना चाहते अपोजिशन. लेकिन ऑपरेशन सिंदूर में जैसे पिछली बार हुआ, ऑपोजिशन ने मांग की जी होम मिनिस्टर आए, प्राइम मिनिस्टर आए, आ गए, 2-3 घंटे में सलट गया मामला, उन्होंने बोल दिया ये हुआ था. और अदर एग्जाम्पल, ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के बाद देखिए, मैं बाईपार्टीसन की बात कर रहा हूँ, प्रधानमंत्री जी ने बहुत एक पाथ ब्रेकिंग स्टेप लिया. हम में से काफ़ी MPs, रूडी जी हमारे साथ थे, डिफरेंट मुल्कों में गए. क्या सक्सेस थी साहब. कई डेलीगेशंस के थे, अपोजिशन चेयरपर्सन थे, तो हम साउथ अफ्रीका गए, इजिप्ट गए, इथोपिया गए, कतर गए, और मल्टी पार्टी डेलीगेशन गए. अगर वो सक्सेसफुल मॉडल था तो क्यों ना हम मल्टी पार्टी डेलीगेशन हर एक चीज पे इंडस्ट्री के लिए, ये जो लैंड रिफॉर्म्स हैं, लेबर रिफॉर्म्स हैं, ये जो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट टाइप काम है कि इंडस्ट्रीज रिस्पेक्ट है। जब मैं प्योर इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट या जो भी था, सार्क सीसीआई का चेयरमैन था और ब्रिक्स में था और ऑनरेरी काउंसिल जनरल था साउथ अफ्रीका का, तो एक हमारे साहब हैं एचटी में, तो उन्होंने कहा विक्रम जी आप ऐसा करिए ना, आप 2 विजिटिंग कार्ड रखिए, ये जो आपके बिजनेस हैं साउथ अफ्रीका, इजिप्ट और सन इंटरनेशनल, ये एक अलग कार्ड बनाइए, कार्ड में सिर्फ ये सार्क, ब्रिक्स और ऑनरी काउंसिल रखिए तो बहुत एक्सेप्टेबिलिटी आपकी बढ़ जाएगी। मैं बहुत परेशान हुआ, मैंने इंडीड 2 कार्ड बना लिए। अब मैं एयरपोर्ट पे आऊँ वो वाला कार्ड चलाऊं, पद्मश्री वाला और ये 4 वाले, तो ऐसा होना नहीं चाहिए। बिजनेसमैन, अगर किसान अन्नदाता है, हम श्रमदाता हैं, सारे एमएसएमई के तो एम्बेसडर बैठे हैं ये। अब तो ये हमें इंडस्ट्री को रिस्पेक्ट दिलवाना, इंडस्ट्री इज क्रिएटिंग जॉब्स, एम्प्लॉयमेंट, एवरीबॉडी इज नॉट, most of the people I see here, including myself, Jyotsna ji, Harsh ji, we are, Harsh ji may be second generation. Most of us are first generation entrepreneur. बहुत मेहनत से काम करके यहाँ तक पहुँचे, इमामी है, महिंद्रा, कोई भी आरपीजी है, तो बहुत ऑनेस्टी है, ब्रांड इक्विटी है, तो इंडस्ट्री को रिस्पेक्ट मिलनी चाहिए और सबको, तभी हम भारत ये 5 ट्रिलियन इकॉनमी बन सकता है। और रूडी जैसे जो दिग्गज राजनीतिक, क्रूड राजनीतिक, मंजे हुए राजनीतिक हैं, उनको लीड करना चाहिए। हमारी तो कुछ सुनता है, नहीं सुनता कि भाई डिस्कशन करा लो बस। प्रॉब्लम है कि जैसे ही कोई अपोजिशन या जो भी कहता है भाई 2-3 घंटे डिस्कशन करा के 4 घंटे खत्म। टीवी में भी तो रोज डिस्कशन होता है, तो पार्लियामेंट में क्यों नहीं हो सकता? थैंक यू।
So, ladies and gentlemen, I think I was not wrong when I said that we have Vikramjit Bhai, who is absolutely a torchbearer of bipartisan cooperation, at least on the agenda of development of our country. And I think that's rightly so, because unless we can cooperate on at least that one front, we are really not going to make the headway that we need to do. So with this, we go off for a quick, because we just have about 5-7 minutes to go. So one minute for everyone. Just to sum up, what would you say 1, 2, or 3 things that we need to do to get our pedal on the accelerator and move towards a 9 to 10% growth? So starting with Krishna.
3 things. Okay. The first one is, I think, the availability of the risk capital. Finance Minister keeps saying why industry is not coming forward and taking the lead. I think the availability of the risk capital is not there, and I think that should be pushed forward. That will be my first thing. Because if you see any of these new industries that we're talking about, I think yesterday or day before yesterday, they spoke about the rare earth minerals. And 7,000 crores. 7,000 crores for rare earth minerals is pittance. How can you make someone a world leader, global leader in that field with that small amount, unless you have risk capital thrown at it? Make it so encouraging for them to explore in that field. I think that's the first thing. And the second thing would be speed of doing business, that what we are talking about in Andhra Pradesh. Say for example, I think Rudy Bhai has just mentioned about Zomato, Swiggy's and all those things. When so much capital is coming into these industries, the reason that is coming into these industries is because less bureaucratic hurdles for them. And second thing is the way you can scale up. When you're talking about manufacturing, to scale up and the speed at which they can scale up, to set up the industry, it's taking too long. If that is the case, you cannot have the growth of 9%, 10%, which is seen in China. The way they could set up the industry within months, if not months, within days, that made the huge difference in the country. And third most important thing is the R&D, which we are not talking about, and which it won't show up immediately. Either the benefits or the negatives. We won't see any negative if we don't spend anything on R&D in the short term. But in the long term, there'll be a huge difference. The algorithms, if, for example, in AI, what US can throw up or what China can throw up, you always will be like in 5 years, 6 years down the line, you always end up again as a servicing country, like what we have done for Microsoft and Amazon and Facebook and everything. Whether you want to be on the servicing side or you want to be in the product development side. Say, again, I want to take a leaf out of what Rudy G has said with regards to I think the car manufacturing that you said, or the iPhone manufacturing you said. When we talk about all these things, when was which country, which company in India is manufacturing its own engine? Which car company is manufacturing? No one. If a country is not able to manufacture its own engine, after that doesn't sit well when we're talking about our fighters being manufactured here. But when we look at where the engines are being manufactured, it's been imported. So how we can fill that gap unless we put the money in the research and development? And there's a talk for the last 3 or 4 years that 1 lakh crores are going to be invested in the R&D. But if you see the numbers, I think there's a lot of filling to do. I think these are the 3 things: risk capital, speed of doing business, and research and development. Thank you.
Thank you. Rajiv bhai, I'll come to you last so that you can, yeah. So, Yadav ji.
हेलो। मेरा मानना है कि जो MSMEs हैं सबसे ज़्यादा जॉब्स क्रिएट करती हैं, और जो ट्रेडिशनल इंडस्ट्रीज हैं जैसे फिरोजाबाद में कांच उद्योग है, कन्नौज में परफ्यूम का है, अगर इन इंडस्ट्री ऑल ओवर इंडिया जितनी इंडस्ट्रीज हैं ट्रेडिशनल, इनको अगर हम लोग मजबूत करें, रिवाइव करें और स्ट्रेंथन करें, तो इससे जॉब क्रिएशन होगा और एक मजबूती की ओर हम लोग बढ़ेंगे। दूसरा है, हमें हैवली इन्वेस्ट करना चाहिए एजुकेशन के सेक्टर में और हेल्थ के सेक्टर में, क्योंकि अगर हम गरीब आदमी की तरफ से देखें तो आज की डेट में अच्छी एजुकेशन अफोर्ड गरीब आदमी नहीं कर सकता है। अगर अच्छे कॉलेजेस में पढ़ना है तो हम लोग देखते हैं, अगर बाहर भी बच्चा पढ़ने जा रहा है, अराउंड 30 to 35 लाख रुपीस साल में खर्च कर रहा है। अगर उस लेवल की एजुकेशन इंडिया में हमें देनी है तो वी कैन गो इन PPP मोड पे भी गवर्नमेंट के साथ कुछ स्कीम्स आनी चाहिए और करें, बच्चों को अच्छी एजुकेशन मिले, हेल्थ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर अच्छा मिले, आदमी पूरी जिंदगी कमाता है और बुढ़ापे में बीमार के कगार पर आकर सारा अपना जितना उसने कमाया होता सब खर्च कर देता। तीसरा मेरा मानना है, जो छोटे शहर हैं इनमें जो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है वो अच्छे डेवलप होने चाहिए, और जिससे वहाँ पर इन्वेस्टमेंट आ सके और लोकल लेवल पर जॉब्स क्रिएट हो सके। अगर ये तीनों चीज़ पर काम होता है तो एक पावर हाउस की तरफ इंडिया आगे बढ़ने का काम करेगा। थैंक यू।
Vikramjit bhai.
Thank you. I think 3 very important points are, of course, as Lavji have said, human capital and skilling. That is very, very important, because this is a catharsis of India where industry is not getting the skilled workforce on one hand, and on other hand we have unemployment. So we have to do, as he's doing, skill census or skill mapping, which we are trying to do in Punjab and Delhi. And this was a FICCI's idea. My mentors Raju Kanodia ji and YK Modi ji are sitting, Jyoti ji. We started few years back adopting ITIs. I have now adopted 10 ITIs and converting, but I think industry should look at the ITIs or whatever to, there is a government scheme to adopt them and then churn out people. We have also, government have nominated me as the vice chairman of National Apprenticeship Council, but somehow it is not sort of taking off. In the 4 walls, I'll request FICCI to take advantage of this apprenticeship, and we are ready to do the national apprenticeship melas and all, because skilling is the main thing. Second is innovation. Of course, we all have to allocate a budget, and MSME competitiveness. Just artificial intelligence yesterday, We were with Chinese, and you'll be, maybe you are aware or not. I was not aware. He opened Chat GPT, then Perplexity on his phone, and gave a command that uh, I will speak in Chinese, and then it should translate. So there was no need of any interpreter. You can try. I tried it late evening. So if I and Love have to, I can speak to Lavaji in Telugu or Kannada through this Chat GPT. There's no need of, I'll speak in Punjabi, it will translate to him in Telugu and then back forth. So this is the AI. So we have to have innovation and AI. Lastly, infrastructure, manufacturing expansion, because we had last 5-10 years, a lot of ports have come up. But I think this China 2 thing is really not taken off, and we have bottlenecks and constraints in multimodal transport. These industrial zones are really not vibrant, and adding to ease of doing business, cutting the time management between placing a order to a garment factory, to a leather factory, to any engineering factory, and delivering it. So somehow, I think if we have to make, so we have to make this as a global economy, and then only we can achieve ease of doing business. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
To take from what Savni Saab had just said, I want to just lighten up things. A couple of sessions back, I was walking through from Lok Sabha through the canteen to Rajya Sabha canteen to my office. On the way in the Rajya Sabha canteen, there are like 6 MPs sitting on the table, and there was a phone, and they switched on the Chat GPT and talking to and asking the questions. So they are up to date. MPs are, even though they're 60, 65, they're completely up to date, and they know what to ask and how to get the answers. So yeah, we can start doing that. Yeah.
So now we request our chair, Rajiv Pratap Rudy ji, to just answer this and also to sum up this morning sessions.
Thank you very much. No questions from the audience, so we are happy. And you said accelerators. So for me, accelerators are in democracy, it is the polity, it is the political individuals, it's the leadership from there which takes everything together. The process emanates from there. You have to choose a direction with it. It's for me, polity is most important, which brings in governance, which is very, very important. So I can tell you just a small example how government works. And day before yesterday, I was in the Ministry of Civil Aviation. Why this is important? I've been the civil aviation minister, brought lot of reforms. The Hyderabad airport, the Shamshabad airport, Bangalore was underdone my signature. Not many people know. The low-cost airlines, which you see is in this country, was brought under my signature. No one knows, because governments are institutions. Delhi and Mumbai was under my signature. No one knows. So it's fair enough. But a man who walks up to the ministry with a greenfield airport, which is going to come up in Patna, the largest in the Southeast Asia, after 6 years of my effort, when I go to the ministry and talk there, they say application is fine, but one column is empty. So it could have been written as not applicable. So simply because, like an election where we don't file and not applicable, that application was held back. Just because the officer failed to write, an IS officer who has worked as a PS to Jyotir Aditya Scindia, is director aviation in Bihar, did not write NA, and the deputy secretary there explained it to the senior boss, that it is a procedure, sir. It is a procedure which has to be followed. So this is government, and this is polity, and this is leadership. And I was sitting there aghast as a former civil aviation minister, trying to understand what he is saying. So this is all about politics, all about governance, and of course, governance sector, which we talk about. The partners, drivers are not the central government, are the states. Please remember that. We always tend to think that the central government is a facilitator. Let it be defense, telecom, external affairs, maybe seas and other things. Everything is a state. And if we are under a confusion that the wealth is generated In the state, in the center, no. Wealth center collects the wealth across the states. It is the state. And if, when I say polity, Chandrababu Naidu sits here and takes the Google headquarters of Southeast Asia, which is coming up there. That is polity. That is how you have to work and decide. No one else could have done it, what he has done, and many more things. And what you see in Hyderabad today is not the creation of anyone else. It was Chandrababu Naidu who created the ORR, who's in 2003, we sat together to create this Shamshabad airport. It was Chandrababu Naidu. Not people know. And now that man has gone back to a greenfield place again, creating a new vision. This is governance, this is polity, this is leadership, and this is what we should look for. And that matters. The recipe cannot be one, but this is an ingredient. Trust in the states. Support the states. They can give you the wealth. And third, trust the partners, the wealth creators. Here is the wealth creators. They may not understand what me and Akshay are saying, but they will create the wealth for me and them to spend with those people who require it. Trust the wealth creators, make them free and fear free. You are the wealth creators. जो लोग कहता है ना कई बार, मैं तो बहुत ही कॉन्फ्लिक्टिंग विषय छोड़ के जा रहा हूं. लोग कहता है कि सरकारी नौकरी में गए. साहब, सरकारी नौकरी में आप इसलिए नहीं गए कि आप शैलेश, आप आईएएस में इसलिए नहीं गए थे कि आपको देश की सेवा करनी थी. आपके माँ बाप ने आपको अच्छा पढ़ाया, आपके पास 10 लाख करोड़ नहीं थे कि आप बिजनेस लगाएं, तो आपने कहा कि सबसे बड़ा व्यापार है, पढ़ाई कर लो, नौकरी खोज लो, 30 साल के लिए हमारी है. गरीब अगर बिहार और उत्तर प्रदेश में अपने बच्चे को पढ़ाता है, तो उसको पढ़ाता है कि ये पुलिस में चला जाए, ये सेक्शन ऑफिसर बन जाए, ये कस्टम्स में चला जाए. It is all the primary focus to become what you want to become is finance. You want to earn a salary to be secure. It is not nationalism which comes there. Nationalism comes later. Power comes later. Your commitment comes later. So if you are also the same category, you are creating wealth. And a small man who has studied in a district school is there on a chair. His role and your role is not different because he has primarily come for his salary to earn his wealth. If an IAS officer, you talk to them, they take the exams because they don't have the wealth to set up an industry. It is the shortcut to earn salary, have a good house here, have a good power and supplement it with power. And then you become powerful and then you become nationalist and then you tell about governance and then you think about the nation and rest of you stay there creating wealth where you are. So this philosophy has to be kept in mind. There is no other business than business, which is primary for any individual to begin. I'm not talking about social workers or Gandhian individuals. We all do it for business, whether we work in politics, whether we do industry or we work in the government, it's a business. Primary principle is that you go for a salary. And then it becomes. So this is third. Fourth, we need visionaries like him. You ask me why? He's the first person to set up a 5-star hotel in Patna, Taj Hotel. And he's doing the best. He's the richest man there now. So he's done it. No one even thought of making a... Do you believe that in a state capital with 14 crore people, we did not have a 5-star hotel in Patna? He's the one, he's made all the wealth in the elections. Every politician stayed in his hotel. This is vision. Visionaries are them. He's come, he dreaded into Bihar, found out and set up one of the most beautiful hotels. So anyone talks about Taj there, it is him. And thanks to the outgoing president, Mr. Anand Goenka, we missed you. And please tell them, politicians are very good. We travel international. Jyotsna always says, we don't have the money to travel international. So these are 5 of them. There are many of us who can be very good, intelligent, talking good, and talking about you, wealth creators. Because all politicians need wealth creators. Outgoing, I'm just coming to him. Outgoing is Harsh, of course, Harsh Agrawal. And incoming is a young friend of mine, Anant Goenka. Welcome to you and welcome to everyone. This is just a very candid session. My great Mr. Sani, I was only scared that kahin gana nahi shuru kar de. नहीं अभी नहीं, अभी छोड़ दिया, आज छोड़ दिया मैम। नहीं आज नहीं, आज छोड़ दीजिए, आज बिल्कुल
I'll
छोड़
just
दीजिए। नहीं नहीं,
add-
वो आज बहुत कम, सब सीरियसनेस
I'll
नहीं,
just
पॉलिटिक्स
add
में,
to Rudy ji,
पॉलिटिक्स इज ऑल अबाउट सीरियसनेस।
wealth creators, I'll just add half under your, with your permission, but we must do the introspection that why HNI and wealth creators are leaving India and becoming
चलिए,
NRIs. Some other session, we will like to
talk.
interact.
And
Do give us suggestions. Thank you.
अक्षय मुलायम सिंह जी के परिवार के इतने सुलझे हुए व्यक्ति, मैं अभी कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन क्लब का चुनाव लड़ा, ये मेरे साथ कमेटी मेंबर हैं, लवू उस तरफ हैं, और ये सुबह 9 बजे से शाम के 5 बजे तक चुनाव में खड़े रहे। His political seriousness reflects what kind of an individual he is. He considers, और ये दूध के व्यापार में जो ये मुझे समझा रहे थे, I felt so thrilled and so thrilled. So Akshay, Lavu is the key man. If you have to look at Mr. Chandrababu Naidu or Andhra Pradesh, he is the man. The thought behind what you see. He connects parliament, he connects colleagues, he connects friends, and a brilliant man. A friend, of course, and of course, great two people individually with me. Sunny Saab is matchless, of course. And Jyotsna ji, thank you very much. I think this is the first time this kind of a forum. Yes. And you must all congratulate Harsh, and because we mooted this idea, they caught on. To be having 1 hour session, and none of you you look good today with us. You're not very disappointed. And monologue, we are not ministers in the government where you have to clap compulsively. You clapped otherwise also. So thank you very much, and it's a beautiful morning and a beautiful day. We catch up. And please, when you see me in my uniform in an aircraft, I am the only parliamentarian in the world who flies the largest airline. So when you see, come and say hello and say that you spoke well. Bye, everybody.
Can we have the mic on for Dr. Suri? It's on.
Was asking, I'm not Air India, I'm a captain with Indigo.
So I think that was a very, very informative, engaging, and I must say entertaining session. Do you all agree with me?
Yes.
So they are clapping because they want to clap, not because they have to clap. So thank you all for your patience, and thank you very much, our honorable parliamentarians. Thank you, Harsh, for being with me on this, partnering with us. Thank you, outgoing, welcome, incoming. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you very much to our esteemed parliamentarians for sharing their perspectives. May I close the session by inviting the FICCI Presidium and the past presidents present here to kindly come up for a photograph with the parliamentarians. Ladies and gentlemen, we extend our thanks to our parliamentarians on the stage for their bipartisan spirit, for their guidance and willingness, morning, to engage meaningfully with industry. They're truly invaluable, and we will all be working together toward a more innovative, inclusive, and globally competitive India. Thank you for your time. Please remain seated, ladies and gentlemen. We've got another session that is happening immediately after. I'd like to request you to give us a round of applause so that their smiles can get wider. Thank you so much. We will be moving on to our final session with young business leaders. Kindly remain seated and refrain from moving about. Please do not create more disruption than what is required. Please be seated. Also keep your mobile phones in the silent mode. Thank you. Harshvardhan Agarwal to please welcome our panelists. We've got green certificates and mementos for each of you. You'll be pleased to know that this is part of FICCI's green tradition. Each green certificate that you get today signifies a commitment to plant a grove of trees in your name. And we are honored to plant 51 trees at Ram Bhumi in Ayodhya for each of our esteemed panelists. A rather meaningful gesture of appreciation and a contribution towards a cleaner and greener future. One bottle, sir. Thank you very much, Honorable FICCI President. It's over to Mr. Alok Shirsagar now to conduct the session.
Good morning. It's nearly good afternoon, but good morning to all of you. And thank you for joining us, which I think will be an exciting and fast-paced session this afternoon. I think over the last day or so, we've heard a lot from policymakers, government people, secretaries, and MPs. And today, I think I'm very excited about our panel because we're going to talk about entrepreneurs and people who are actually driving the innovation, growth, and jobs that we need to help Viksit Bharat become a reality. So I'm actually really delighted to have the panel, which I'll just introduce and talk about in a minute. But maybe just to frame this conversation, I think often when we talk about India as a resilient economic powerhouse or other things like that, we often miss the fact that this is not going to get done by the government or the public sector. The government can enable and create the right policies, but ultimately it's founders and entrepreneurs and owners that are actually creating huge amount of value in our country. And what I'm going to explore today in today's panel is what are each of these companies, all of whom are leaders and innovators in their field, what are they doing to capture India's growth opportunity? You'll hear stories about planning ahead for inflection points, building strong organizations and partnerships, working with the government where required, but also not being dependent on the government to be able to drive growth and innovation, working with both domestic and global investors to support, and finally, really building technology and product quality at the heart of each of their businesses. These are some of the ways in which these companies are, I think, real innovators and real role models. And so for FICCI members present here today, I think it'd be an interesting discussion to not just discuss the macro aspects of the country, but really get into what is it that is driving growth and innovation in each of these companies. And hopefully we can all learn from the journeys ahead. You would have seen in the write-up that each of these companies are leaders and innovators in their field. We have Rahul of Moglix, who's been a pioneer in B2B commerce, 55 locations, 5 countries. You've got Shrivar, who's not just the MD of Borosil as a company, but I think has real passion for how to make the industry as a whole sustainable. And I think, as you always say, Shrivar, it's no gap between sustainability and productivity. And so making sure that it's not a slogan, but actually is economically viable. Devansh, of course, at Inox, you've pioneered a lot of work in renewable energy and at scale over the last decade and more. And I think a lot of what you all have done in wind is world leading, not just from an India point of view. And Ankit, I think from a drone perspective, both for civil and defense purposes. I think you've been a pioneer in developing this critical set of capability for our country, both with respect to, I'm sure we'll talk about agriculture and other industrial capabilities, but also very importantly for national security as well. So first, please join me in giving a hand to our panel. These are wonderful, wonderful leaders, innovators that we have present. What I'm going to do is actually follow a very straightforward format. I'm going to ask each of them to first just spend a few minutes talking about what are two opportunities they are most excited about for their own companies as you look forward. Not, generically speaking, for their own companies. What are two opportunities that you're most excited about? How are you pursuing it? Give us some detail on that so people can learn about it. I'm then going to do a second round that's talking about the challenges in scaling, right? They've already very successful, but if they want to get to 5x scale in the next 5 or 10 years, what are one or two challenges that they're facing? And in that context, what are the types of ways in which collaboration, whether in the private sector or with the public sector, would make a difference to that? And then we'll open up for some audience questions as well. With that said, maybe we'll start from that side down. Rahul, one or two things you're most excited about in doing at Moglix.
So thanks a lot, and great to be here, and I think talk on this subject of the India shining, and how are each one of us creating our own companies to facilitate some of those. So a quick 30-second on what we do. So Moglix, we are a B2B e-commerce company. We work with manufacturing and infrastructure customers primarily to become one-stop solution for them to buy products. And obviously there are companies which sell products through us. We are present in 5 countries. So I think one of the things which is very exciting for me at Moglix is just over the last 10 years that we have been around, this sheer sort of belief that India can compete in the global center stage on manufacturing, we can create phenomenal infrastructure projects. I think that has been a super exciting thing for us because the industry growth fuels our growth. Our enablement fuels the industry growth. That's how I think about it, because we are obviously bringing the best-in-class digital technology. We are pioneering even AI use in procurement, which I would say is one of the leading in the world. We are continuing to look at how do we invest into the supply chain, creating a logistics which is faster and faster, whether it is about like how can I deliver a product which used to be delivered 5 days, 3 days, 7 days in like 24 hours. And then can I create even the Blinkit moment in the B2B, which was kind of unimaginable for most people, that can we have 10-minute delivery, but consumer guys have done it, but can we do it in industrials? Maybe not 10 minutes, maybe 1 hour is the target that we'll set for ourselves to begin with. But that's something that is very exciting for me at Moglix. And I think it's also an opportunity where I see many Indian companies, at least startups and the one building platforms, have not been able to step out and say that we are not just a company which is leader in India, but can create globally. And I think now as the country is growing, that belief that a Indian company which is mastering logistics supply chain can become leaders. We are already leaders in Middle East and Africa. So we as companies, we as startups can actually build the best solutions for the world. The second company that is a subsidiary of Moglix, which is Credlix, which is into supply chain finance for exporters, importers, and domestic SMEs. Again, there I'm very excited because I think as India continues to play a bigger role in the global supply chain, and a lot of SME exporters continuing to innovate, continue to think about how can they sell in multiple markets. I think we both as a platform can provide those opportunities, create those opportunities in a very, I would say, new generation way of doing it. China would have done it in a very old school way of creating Canton fairs and trying to get global audience there. But we are trying to come up with innovative ways that technology can enable many of these exporters to export to like 100 plus countries and then get access to financing in a more seamless manner. So these are two things which continue to make me very excited about, because it's a symbiotic relationship. Grow the industry, grow yourself, and vice versa.
I think that's a very powerful theme that we'll come back to, which is if you look at many of these companies, they're not growing just for themselves. You realize that when you actually grow the supply chain finance, you grow the ecosystem, is when then you will have a pull through of the market share itself, which is, I think, a very different mindset than how people have operated. Shiva, from your perspective.
Well, firstly, thank you for having me on this panel. And good luck, Rahul, with whatever you're doing. I think it's helping us for sure. Okay, maybe I'll start with a short story. I came back from the US after studying at university and then working in 2006. And I think within a few months of coming back, my father told me, why don't you go and travel to China and see वहाँ क्या हो रहा है? Go and study, competition in China. So I went, and we had a factory back then in Mumbai making glass for consumer and laboratory applications. And I went to the first plant, and I think we had at that time 2 furnaces. That first plant I went to in Jinan in China, they had 40 furnaces, 40. So they were already back then in 2006, 7, 8, 20 times our size. And I came back and I told my father that how can we compete with these guys? They're 20 times our size already. And he just looked at me and he said, it's very easy. You just start. So what he meant was that you have to start somewhere and figure out, where you can start. And I think, there's a saying that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So what we look at now as an organization is that our country, we literally have one thing which is the most of anybody else in the world, which is people, right? So what does that mean? People means market, and second is people means is talent, okay? And I think India has an abundance of large market and a real huge abundance of talent. And what we are really trying to do is on the front end, supply to that market, on the back end, use the talent that is available in our country to supply to that market. And I think that's really what I'm most excited about. Because whichever category you look at, today Mr. Rudy in the morning was saying, one of the panelists was saying that, there's so much import of everything in this room. 80% of this room is made by imports from China. If you look at, say, consumer products as an industry, electronics in our households, 83,000 crores of imports per year in simply electronics, it could be air conditioners, it could be, your microwaves or refrigerators, 83,000 crores is being imported. So that's the opportunity today in front of us. India has a huge, we can send a mission to Mars at some $77 million. That's literally rocket technology. So we do have local talent available which can fuel this. So what we are trying to do is use that talent, do R&D. We have R&D center in Pune where we have about 75 people. Again, it's a drop in the ocean. What we should be having 750 people in that R&D center, but it's a start somewhere. And I believe that developing products in India, doing R&D in India for Indians, for our nuances, for our type of food that we eat, for our habits, I think that's a massive opportunity. And literally for everybody in the room, whoever's interested, just go to the import portals and just download, imports of various HSN codes. And there's opportunity right there, So it's not just about Borosil, but it's about all of us have massive opportunity. And I believe I'm most excited about that. Thank you.
Devansh, talk a little bit about the journey on renewable energy and what you see. What are you excited about for the years ahead?
Hi, good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks, Halo. Thanks, FICCI. I think my journey has been elucidated a bit, but I'll just spend a few minutes on that, a few 30 seconds, and probably talk about what we're most excited about. I came back from Carnegie Mellon about 18 years ago. We had a large family business, multiple sectors. Always wanted to do something on my own. And at that point in time, we had this opportunity to look at something in renewables. Dad had the foresight. 20 years ago, renewables was not sexy as they call it today. But back in the day, Dad decided to get into that. And then 4 or 5 years into it, I spent a lot of time traveling the world, understanding renewables. This is way back in 2007. Wind, solar, how policies work, how land connectivity, evacuation works. And sometime in 2009 end is when we incorporated Inox Wind with a princely sum of 10 crores, which I had to fight for a long time to get from my father. And then over a period of 5 years, of course, it became India's second largest wind turbine company. Uh, but you know, everything does not always go as planned, or it's not always positive and good. In 17, the sector completely collapsed. We had almost 35 companies go bankrupt. We went from a market cap of about 10,000 crores then, which used to be a large number, today it's very small, to zero. Uh, 35 players, as I said, which went bust. It was very painful the next 5 years surviving. And how we survived is a long story, but end of the day, after we survived, I think where we are today, across our group, the entire renewable energy platform is scaled up manifold. We're now, the wind sector is virtually a duopoly in India. We're the second largest player. We are on track to become India's largest O&M services company with almost 17 gigawatt. We are on track to become one of the largest solar players in the country. And we should be amongst the top 5 IPPs over the next 6 months in India. Now, I think coming to opportunities and what excites me the most, I think, frankly speaking, what our visionary Prime Minister has done over the past couple of years, or even more so now, I think he's completely changed the theme from just being Atmanirbhar to now make in India for the world. And what do I mean by that, and how excited are we about that? Across our entire chemical arm, we're setting up the world's largest battery chemical complex outside of China. So across countries, particularly the US and some developed markets, it's becoming more and more inward looking. Policy advocacy or tariff barriers and so on and so forth has made it domestic content requirements, as we're seeing in India in certain sectors as well. So the one big beautiful bill by Trump, IRA in the US, etc., has led to unprecedented opportunities where the Chinese supply chain has been cut off in many industries. That's where our chemical arm has moved in, where we've set up the world's largest battery chemical complex, as I mentioned, outside of China. 95% of the American supply chain was dependent on China. And I think we, over the next year or so, should be controlling almost 30% of the American supply chain, supplying high-end tech products, fluoropolymers, very advanced chemicals, right from India to the US. In our renewable arm, on the solar side, of course, now there's domestic content requirement. There's a lot of protections. You have import stopping for most of the products. But what we've also seen, what we've done is we've gone and made strategic investments in the US, where we've taken over large assets in the US to supply some basic material from India, because there are certain norms where 50% has to be domestic, 50% can still be imported, barring the Chinese. So we've really mapped out a scenario where we'll become global champions on the entire energy transition piece, right from wind to solar to battery chemicals to O&M services, EPC. I think while the larger target is 500 gigawatts by 2030, and rather than boring you with too many numbers of billions and billions and billions, I think the larger opportunity is that we're at about 200 gigawatts in wind, 50 gigawatts in wind, about 200 gigawatts in solar. So the next 4 or 5 years, we have an opportunity where we would be installing renewable capacity, which is more than what we've installed since the past 30, 40, 50 years, which just shows you the sheer opportunity which exists in energy transition. And mind you, this is without the entire green data center boom which is coming up, or the green hydrogen boom which will eventually come up as we move forward. So I think that's something which excites me the most. And I think we've got both our hands on deck to capture this opportunity.
Fantastic. Ankit, in the air.
In the air, absolutely. So I think, just to give a very, very brief 30-second intro to Idea Forge, we started making drones in India and we made our first prototype 21 years back when I was still a student at IIT Bombay. And in 2611, we realized that all the fun that we had with the tech, we should use it for our forces. We've been delivering it to our forces over the last 15 years now. Customers have done over 750,000 to 800,000 missions on our drones. They've been used in pretty much every anti-terror defense or disaster mission that you can think of in the country to help our country in some form or fashion. What I'm most excited about now, insofar as this tech is concerned, is that there are two things which are happening. One is that over the last 2 years, we've proven very, very aggressively and very, very clearly that if there is a domain or a technology that can transform security, safety, and governance together, then drones can be the eyes that have not been available to our country or to our forces or enterprises as compared to anywhere else in the world. We've had experiences in mines, we've had experiences in enterprises where there were continuous safety violations by workers. In fact, the first time we actually experimented with this, we were flying in an industrial premises and we took off. And within 10 minutes, we spotted 6 workers sleeping under a hazardous tank. And that was something that the owners of the factory or anybody else could simply not know that is happening. And if ever an incident happens, the only people who suffer are the owners of the business, nobody else, right? Apart from, of course, the people who lose their lives, but they are losing it because they are not being conscious of what they should be doing. So we've seen that transformation. We've seen that suddenly, theft reduces, in attempts to theft reduce, and mere presence of the asset completely change the color of the environment that they're operating in. And we also had people who thought that it's a premium service and therefore they thought that they should pause it. But they called us back in a month, knowing that whatever was hidden got back into, and people got back into doing nefarious activities in their premises or around it. So it's a very, very effective capability. We have literally in cities, we have cleaned up cities. We have had commissioners come back to us and say that you've cleaned up our city because we are able to spot and enforce contracts that require governance to clean it up and all of other things. So it's been a very effective solution there. So we are very excited about how this can scale and grow and create a layer of governance that was not existent in our country. And hopefully, these are challenges that are not just relevant to India, but are relevant across the world, in at least most of the developed world. And therefore, we are excited about taking it elsewhere as well. We are also super excited about what's happening in defense. Of course, war is never a good thing. But insofar as tech is concerned, it's the only way to create credible deterrence of people not attempting to look at us. And what the recent, Op Sindoor has given us is tremendous fuel to build technology to cover up any gaps if we had in our capability as a country, but also to start thinking, and everyone, including the government and everyone, has started to think of getting ahead of where it's going to be next, because everyone fights the war that last happened, but we cannot do that. The things are evolving aggressively, very, very fast. So we have to build capability and technology in our country that will solve for what's going to happen next. If this is what has happened this time, then there is going to be a variation of that that's going to come, and we have to prepare for that. And that's what we are very excited about, and we are developing technology to make that happen.
You know, one reflection I had listening to all of you is this incredible ambition and scale that you achieved, and have not just achieved scale, but having ambition to double and triple over the next 5 years as well. Before I go on to challenges, I think it'd be interesting for this group to maybe reflect with you all on how have you built your companies, how have you built your organization to be able to get to this scale and achieve your ambition? Because I think the FICCI members, I think, will value that insight as you're looking to build a company that can scale, that can match your ambition and aspiration. Maybe, Rahul, we can start with you.
I think every leader would face this as a common theme, that there is no singular path to building leadership across companies, right? So I think for us, and when I started, I came back from Google Singapore to start Moglix, and I think there were key sort of parameters that I always believed that our leader at Moglix needs to have. One is that passion for the country, passion for the industry, and this continuous drive for excellence. I think these are three things And I've always realized some of these soft things, you get the same person from even like an IIT or any other institutional. The difference between the people are these behavioral characteristics which have continued to define how you create leaders and do they have the right mindset, right drive to be able to do it for the right reasons. I mean, there is obviously monetary aspects which have to catch up, but if you don't have these behavioral intrinsic traits that is continuously sort of challenging the norm, you will not grow the organization, you will not succeed as a leader. And I think in that process, how do you maintain the right balance of integrity, empathy? Because I mean, when you're pushing your teams very high, there is always this thin boundary where you can sort of be more rough with people or not carry as much empathy, which at least in COVID times we felt it was very, very important to realize that there is an element of, while we drive our organizations fast pace and high performance and bigger goals, we need to be empathetic towards creating environment where people are able to speak up and talk about their vulnerabilities and help that they may require as a human being, as individual, as family members. So I think those are some of the key things, at least at Moglek.
Shrivar?
Yeah, for us, I think in terms of how to drive or get the team to grow, I think the first thing was setting vision. So every few years, every 3 to 5 years, we have a vision setting exercise for the organization, which is really bottom up, where we actually start in terms of finding what people think we should be doing versus some kind of top down macro economic vision setting. So once a vision is set, then it's a question of goal setting, and and then it's empowerment. Actually, that I think has been a theme for us, is really a lot of empowerment, giving people responsibility probably before they think they're ready for it. And I think that's, we've seen consistently that when you give people more responsibility, they actually step up to the plate and they deliver. And they learn skills which otherwise theoretically would never have been possible for them to kind of do. Things, and they do things which you're surprised that, wow, we actually did this. So and this is not one story, there are multiple, tens or hundreds of stories like that. So I think once you have a clear goal where you want to go, and you empower a team to kind of achieve that, of course incentivization also plays a big role. So I think in terms of giving them upside, whether it be cash upside in the sense of a annual incentive, or things which would include ESOPs, stock options, as a listed company, that's easy for us to do. So those things really motivate people. They feel they're part of the upside, they feel they're empowered, and then they just want to go out there and do the best they can. Because bottom line, everybody wants a better quality of life for them and their kids, and that's the bottom line driving force. And as a country, like I said before, the talent, there's no shortage of talent in our country, so it's easy to do it in that way. Thank you.
Devansh, I think you talked about 2017, right? And so there was obviously a bump in the whole industry in 2017. And, because of all the Chinese panel pricing, there's a lot of structural factors that you have to keep your team aware of in the renewable business. So how do you keep them motivated through some of the cycles, and how are you sort of building a company that can achieve that 2x you talked about?
Look, so I think first and foremost, I'll start with what we've transitioned the entire group to is a promoter-led, professionally run group. We have about 8 CEOs in the group. All of them are fully empowered. I think 7 out of the 8 have ESOPs across our companies. Some are unlisted companies which we're going in for listing soon. But I would say, there's a business cycle. I mean, as I mentioned, when I came back and I built this company, Inox Wind, which was that was the only renewable company we had at that point in time. You earn respect over a period of time when you build, create value, go through ups and downs, not if you are just a son of your father who's built something. I think the fact that I built a billion-dollar enterprise, or one of the first few billion-dollar companies in India, right back in 2010, 12, I think got me a lot of respect across the senior management team, across the teams which I had created. I think the second phase was, obviously the phase was when you knew everything. The wind sector is the back of my hand. I know literally every nut and bolt. But I think the second phase came in 17 when the sector completely collapsed. Coming out of a situation which is unparalleled, which is a perfect storm, which uh, where you've seen virtually every other company in the sector fold up. I think that's a situation which tests your mettle, shows your character, and as they say, survival of the fittest. When you come out, the opportunities ahead of that are unparalleled. So I think that created a position for our group, or for me as a leader, where everybody knew, look, if Devansh is getting into something, we're going to be one of the top players, or we're going to come out of it, or there's a strategy behind everything. And I think that's played out since then, where now, like I said, we've built one of the largest wind companies, O&M companies. In 1 year, we've built almost 3.5 gigawatts of IPP assets. No one has ever done that in India, ever. Not the North Pole and the South Pole, which I'm sure everybody understands. Having said that, getting the best talent is all about empowerment, leaving it on these people, trusting them to do the job. But I think at the end of the day, you need to have a very strong review system, because no matter how much we empower people, no matter how much they have in terms of ESOPs, we still need to ensure they deliver. So I think what we've been able to do at Inox GFL is have a very, very strong review system. Certain businesses have a fortnightly review, certain businesses have a weekly review. So there are targets, goals. If things are not being met, someone else gets in. I will intervene where I think I need to intervene. So I think it's a healthy mix. But as Inox GFL, we've kind of moved to a promoter-led, professionally run group.
Fantastic. Ankit, you've had to build a team in an entirely new technology, dealing with both civil as well as defense. So tell us a little bit more about how have you built the team to be able to both have government and private sector as customers?
Oh, it's a great question, and I think I completely agree with my fellow panelists that team is very, very critical. And I was fortunate to start with a co-founding team. I have three other co-founders who are as passionate, or perhaps even more passionate than I am about what we are doing. So, that really helps. And then you keep getting people who are equally passionate, and I think that's the DNA test that you do before you get somebody, particularly in senior leadership. I think it's very, very important. And talent has been tough, I'll be candid, because particularly, see, we now have over 300 people in R&D doing core technology work. And to get talent of a caliber that can deliver in deep technology is not very linear as far as India is concerned, because one of the biggest issues that we have is that people are not as hands-on when they are fresh out of college. When they have too much experience, they've again stopped being hands-on. And not too many people have experience building full products in our country. They have experience building components, subsystems, but not full products. So that's again a challenge. Therefore, there is a lot of learning that they have to undergo when they come with us, and they will then productively start contributing to what's happening. And it's a tough journey doing deep tech, but it is still a very, very rewarding journey. We have now over 96 patents, and more than half of the patents, or majority of the patents, are by the teams that we have inducted. So the team is constantly peeling the layers, and it's the drive to be and to build the world's best capability from our country, I think, that keeps pulling them to deliver again and again on something which is earlier we also did not think was possible, but they are able to deliver on that very effectively.
I'm just going to ask one more question on how your journeys, because I think that's going to be very relevant for people here. So you've all had investors in your companies, right? Either public or private. And, sometimes I think in the hype cycles that we can sometimes sit in, you can look at a particular sector, a particular company, and get very excited about valuation relative to the underlying business performance at a particular point of time. I think, again, if I can ask the panels to reflect a bit on how have you thought about capital during your journey, internally generated, external, private market, public markets, and the choices you've made, which I think would be relevant to this group as well. Just to mix it up a bit, maybe start with Devansh, Srivar, then Rahul and Ankit.
Look, we've got multiple listed entities. So for us, the DNA is to build scale, build companies of size, and then eventually list them. We are very used to quarterly pressures. We are very used to public scrutiny. We are very used to answering investors' targets, achieving them, and so on and so forth. That's in our DNA. I think, but over the past 3 years, what we've done at the group is we've kind of made every company stand on its own. What do I mean by that? Maybe 5 or 6 years ago, we had a larger group. We had a realignment in our family. So sometimes you would put capital from one entity to another entity and support that company. I think post the realignment, we made it extremely clear. There needs to be much stronger corporate governance. Every company must stand on its own. God forbid something goes wrong with one company, the other company should not get dragged into it or get into a financial might. So I think from our perspective now, we have, like I said, almost 8 companies. 3 of them are listed. Another 2 are going in for a listing. Obviously, those which are listed have access to their own capital pool. Each of these companies has net cash, by the way. With respect to newer ventures, when we're creating them, as promoters, we come in and put in a lot of capital. And at the same time, we go and raise external capital just to mix it up a little bit and to ensure that we have early on investors who can ride the entire growth wave. So, for example, in some of our companies, in one of the companies which we're taking public right now, over the past 1 year, investors have made about 14x from what they invested. And what that does is it gets you a fan following. So when you've made that kind of return, the next entity I create, these guys are already sitting. Kya hoga? 1x nikal bhi jayega, you've made 14x of me. So you get a very large a core group which are backing you in every venture. Obviously, across listed companies, if you've been creating value and you are rewarding shareholders, I think that creates a very large pool of capital which will subscribe to your IPOs and so on and so forth. So I think we have a very strong mix of retail investors, some of India's largest HNIs, and I think a very, very strong institutional mix, not just domestic, but also FIIs. But I think, as I mentioned, what is most important is having well-capitalized companies and having access to capital. That opens up the doors to go and do a lot of acquisitions and build out companies. Otherwise, if you don't have access to capital, it just, the growth is just so slow, or you can't take risks. Because if this case in point, Inox Green is a O&M company where, till 2018, we had 2.5 gigawatts. I was struggling to list that company. It was a very small IPO, 700 crores. I was camped out of Bombay for 3 or 4 months to do that IPO. And mind you, 7-8 years ago, well, this was 22, sorry. 7-8 years ago, I listed Inox Wind at 1,000 crore raise at almost $1 billion valuation, which was a very large IPO in 15. In 2022, a 700 crore raise is very small. But it took me almost 4 months to get that money because the group had realigned. Inox Wind had collapsed at that point in time. But since then, what's happened is that market cap has gone up almost 5 or 6 times, number one. Number two, we've gone and raised an incremental 1,000 crores, which we tied up in 1 week. And we used that capital to acquire 2 large bankrupt companies in NCLT. They were number 2 and number 3 in India, which went bankrupt when the sector shut down. So all I'm trying to give you an example is it depends what your position is. Either raising capital can be a piece of cake or it can be very difficult. The good part is if you've been able to raise capital, private equity or markets or whatever it is, that gives you a lot of risk capital which you can use to buy out companies. And then the scale at which you operate, transforms manifold. So I think for us, it's a mix of these things.
Well, I think parts of what Devansh said would apply to everybody in the sense that corporate governance is super important. So we have a large independent board which we really respect, and we get lots of insights from them. The other thing is, from a risk perspective, generally we grow from retained earnings, and we're a bit debt averse. So generally we don't like having too much debt, which is again contrary to most financial logic. But India has not been the best place, frankly, to take large amounts of debt and grow a business, because the cycles tend to then kill these companies. So we have been growing mostly from retained earnings and equity, and we're also listed. So raising capital from equity markets, we get reasonably strong valuations, which allow us to grow from that. So that's broadly been our theory. keep it clean, keep debt low, and grow from profits. While that may not supercharge growth, I think it's sustainable because we don't look for the quarter, we look for decades and possibly generations. So that's really the thought process. Yeah, so keep it simple, basically.
Thank you. Rahul?
For us as a first-gen entrepreneur, there's basically venture is the primary capital that we have used in our journey. And obviously, when we started 10 years back, I think nobody knew what is B2B e-commerce and how will it play out. GST was not there. So the tax structures were very, very complicated. So I think we have had our own cycles. I think, however, because from get-go, it was pretty much set as a professional company. So the investors have been there literally from day one of the company. And the corporate governance has been like whatever is the highest benchmark we can set. Obviously, during the journey, you continue to evolve as you scale because you may not have the capital to hire a super smart CFO to begin with, but you'll have like a smaller version of it. And I think as we go on our journey next couple of years towards public, I think we'll figure out the new lessons of dealing with public market.
I think our journey for capital raising, Alok, has been extremely challenging. Least to say, when we started IdeaForge, I think between 2007, when IdeaForge started, and till 2015, we had not raised more than, we had raised less than 1 crore in equity capital. So we had to bootstrap our growth. We had to make our own money, fuel our technology and growth through our own capital. And then progressively, we were able to raise capital from venture funds and then eventually going public in 23 as well. So for us, I think it's been a domain where we've usually raised capital for growth and made sure that the capital that we've raised for growth is meant to go after building tremendous value for the business. A lot of intrinsic value is created for the business when it builds technology that then provides it leadership in the market.
No, thank you. And I think it's really appreciate the fact that you all have been very candid about the challenges of doing this as well, because as we all know, there are ups and downs and the learnings for the group will come from that. Maybe I'll just switch a little bit into the next 3 to 5 years. What are the challenges you're dealing with now in each of your businesses as you look to achieve the aspirations that you have? And as we do that, try and tease out a bit more of what do you expect or what would you like to see more of from collaborations with other people, other entrepreneurs, policymakers, with industry bodies? What are the types of things that you're looking for beyond what your company will do itself? Maybe we go back, maybe start this time with Ankit.
Yeah, sure. So when I look at the next 3 to 5 years, I think one of the challenges, like I mentioned earlier, is talent. We need better talent and we need to have the ability to assimilate and make it productive very fast. That's one area we are very closely working on. The other important factor for us is that a lot of our customers are government customers. And India isn't a very friendly place for public buying because our public processes presently do not have a very high approach or a very good approach for buying innovation. So I think a lot of work is happening. We are looking at changing our policies, particularly in defense and other domains where the ability to buy innovation and the ability to promote innovation is going to become a central part of what's going to happen. Because as the country looks at evolving, we have to evolve beyond services and build to print. We have to evolve towards building products, move up the supply chain. Now, whether we move up the supply chain by doing and building things in India first or building to print in India first for the rest of the world and then progressively move up, or we start by building products of our own. I think both are equally relevant and important pillars of how this is going to happen. But that's an area where a lot of policy support is also going to be required because we have not built those kind of products in our country. And like the opportunity was spoken about, that we are importing so much in our country, and each of that import is a ripe domain for us to disrupt. I think there is a little bit of that mindset issue in India as well, that we don't prioritize Indian buying from Indians, and we don't invest enough if we have to qualify what is coming from India so that it can be productive for us. So I think a lot of effort we will have to make, and we are making in our supply chain to make our supply ecosystem become productive for us. And the thing we are looking forward to going ahead is that we want a supply ecosystem that can be a pillar for our growth, that can contribute positively to our ability to grow aggressively in terms of technology and capability in the market. Because unless and until we do that, we won't be able to meet the kind of volume and demand expectations the market is going to have.
Just double click on one thing before we move on, which is the public processes and buying innovation. What are, obviously people look for track record, L1, the mix of, QCBS, etc. But in the drone space, given how critical it is, how are you driving or how are you enabling innovation in public procurement?
I think a lot of barriers. See, for example, there was a time where resultant single vendor was not acceptable. At least now, all of the public procurement allows for a resultant single vendor, right? That's very important because even when you have an outcome-based buying process, if only one person can qualify that outcome, then you ought to buy, right? Otherwise, it's not going to scale. But there are limits to some of these, buying systems, because you can't buy a lot of that even today in the present system. So some of those limits have to go away. If we want businesses to be as big as the businesses we watch grow in the rest of the world faster than our ecosystem, a lot of those barriers have to completely go away. And it cannot just be in the private sector, it has to be in the defense sector as well. If you want to be a net exporter of defense, then private industry has to have that kind of scale internally so that it can be then productive globally as well.
Devansh, a couple of challenges you see ahead and how are you addressing them? And what support would you like from others in the ecosystem?
No, look, honestly, I see more opportunities than challenges. So, unlike most other people who talk about challenges, I think the opportunities up front are unprecedented. I think it's up to us, entrepreneurs, business people, to capture both of them with both our hands. I think, frankly speaking, as I mentioned earlier, what our Honorable Prime Minister has achieved and where they've put India on the global map, plus the fact that a lot of developed countries are moving away truly from the Chinese supply chain, is more opportunity than any challenge. I can go on and on about blah, 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 challenge, supply chain nahi hai, finance nahi hai. तो आप entrepreneur क्यों हो? It's your job to fix it. Stop cribbing. But having said that, I think if there are two areas where I think the government is doing a lot of work is removing red tapeism, making it far more smoother, the entire regulatory framework. And obviously, we've had very stable leadership for now, 2 terms, and the third term, actually there's far more stable visibility in terms of policies, no matter which industry you operate in. So I think that's bringing a lot of confidence, and I think that's probably also the fact that a lot of capital is coming into India. I'm not talking of short-term stock market aberrations, but other than that, I think routine challenges. I don't think there's anything out of the ordinary. I would rather that the opportunity for India is unprecedented. And I think the next 3 to 5 years is something where you'll see truly global champions emerge from India in different industries, be it steel, be it chemicals, be it now renewables, so on and so forth. So, Alok, nothing specific with respect to challenges.
Okay, good, that's great. Shiva?
So on Ankit's point about mindsets, I think I'll give you one example. We were trying to sell some glass in Germany, and we had a production unit in Germany which was making this product. And I remember speaking to the purchase head of a large solar company there, and she told me that if you supply from a German unit, we pay 15% more, and if you supply from India, it'll be 15% less. And I asked her, but why would you do that? Because it's a commoditized product. And she says, well, it's made in Germany. We got to support German, this was a German company who we're supplying to. And she said, we have to support local industry. It's a mindset. I think in India, we tend not to have that mindset where we want to support local innovation. So that's why I'm saying on, and I really respect what IdeaForge is doing here with drones, because you're competing with, Chinese, and you're competing with Israelis and so on. But I'll give, another point. We were making this protein estimation product, which is used for checking all your protein in food. And the imports again come from Germany, and we went to FSSAI and trying to pitch our product there, developed and made in India. And they said, "Ye to, prove to us that this technology works." Now the point is, it's innovation. So there is going to be version 1 and version 2. When you started Gmail and when you started virtually every single tech software has bugs. So innovation will have bugs in it. So I think if I had to change one thing, I would say give our own ecosystem a chance. Try and buy more made in India stuff. It may not always work the first time, but the second or third time it will work exactly to the level that it's supposed to. And that's the same whether it's in the US or in Europe or even in China for the matter. So I would love that change in mindset. But outside of that, I think opportunity is phenomenal. Has been said, that it's up to us to make those mindsets change as well. So it's kind of both.
So I think a lot of great points already made on the panel, but I think from the vantage that I see, I think our opportunity is so unprecedented that when I think about the challenge, it is about like, are we able to grab the entire opportunity? And I feel that at least we have been accelerating the pace of grabbing those opportunities, but the opportunity is 10x in the next 10 years. Right? So at the current pace, maybe we'll become 2-3x, but our opportunity is 10x. Just like we do our in the company, always thinking about if the opportunity is 10x, we want to grab 10x, right? And I think as a country, we have that opportunity. The only one thing which I feel it is very important from our policy and governance and all of those, I think the pace has been increasing. We have been saying that we used to do 10 years back X, now we are doing 2x, 3x, 4x faster. I think we need to move away from that mindset. If we want to build global leaders, we have to think about what is the speed something happens in China? What is the speed that happens in Vietnam? Because no longer we want to just be like, am I best in India? We want to be best in the world. And the best in the world will only happen when for everything we are benchmarking towards, like how much does it take from a time perspective, from capital perspective, to set up a manufacturing plant in India versus other. What are the kind of regulations? What kind of... there's an interesting book I was given a few years back by one of the industrialists. He said, like, if you are on the board of directors of a company, there are 16,000 ways you can go to jail. Right? So, which are scary, right? I mean, like you are an entrepreneur, you want to build a company and you want to move fast. So I think that's the only thing that I think we need to start thinking global best, which is a very different benchmark if we want to take the entire opportunity for us as a country. We'll still do very well because we'll capture 2-3x, but I think the opportunity is 10x.
Let me first and foremost thank our panelists for a really insightful and critical discussion. Maybe 3 or 4 themes just quickly to summarize. We're not going to have time for questions, the organizers told us. So 3 or 4 quick themes I think that came through. One is, I think, a sense of real ambition, right? As you see in each of the colleagues here, this was not looking over your shoulder. This was not waiting for someone to point a path. But I think each of you have really blazed your own and set incredible ambition, right? That's one. Second, I think you built organizations and empowered teams and built the skills to be able to capture that, right? So it's not just about ambition, but you've empowered people, you've created wealth, you've shared the wealth, and you've enabled people to grow. And the third is the way in which you've operated within the ecosystem, whether it's your suppliers, your customers, building out the technology partnerships, building out the global partnerships. And last, I just want to reinforce what you said, Rahul. At the end of the day, people, and you all are already doing this, are looking for world class. They're not looking for, have you managed the system in India and therefore, become good just in the Indian context. And I think if you think about the broader theme of what FICCI's conference is here, right? When you say economic powerhouse, the economic powerhouse is going to be built by companies led by individuals like this. And so I just like to give a big hand to all of them. And thank you again.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Devansh, Shrivar, Rahul, Ankit, and Alok. If I could request you all to step forward for a group picture. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the close of the 98th AGM of FICCI. I'd like to now request all our participants to join us for lunch in the adjoining space, which is the pre-function area, adjoining space to the hall. We'd also like to request all NECM members to kindly move to meeting room 7, which is downstairs, for the vote of thanks to the outgoing president. The reconstituted NECM will also be held in the same room. Those who have been invited may kindly proceed to MR7. Thank you very much.